Today I decided to give you guys a ranking of the Incredible Hulk films. The Incredible Hulk is a character that was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby back in the 60s. I'm a huge fan of the Hulk character, and he's one of my favorite superheroes. And today we're going to be ranking his films. This is a series of films that began in 1988 and continued on to 2017, although Hulk is still featured in other movies and TV shows even to this day. So without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at last place is The Incredible Hulk Returns, 1988. It was the first TV movie that featured the Hulk. It was basically a continuation of the 1978 TV show, so the film basically acts as a sequel to that show, and this film also features Thor in his live-action debut. Thor is played by Eric Allen Kramer in this movie, and he does a really good job as the character. He's not as good as Chris Hemsworth is in the current Thor movies, but he's very likable, he's fun. There's a scene in the movie where he goes and drinks beer with a bunch of bikers and parties. And he's not really a god in this movie, they just say that he's like an old school Norse Viking who basically is brought back before he can get into Valhalla. And he's summoned by this guy named Donald Blake, who in the comic books is actually Thor's alter ego, but in this movie he's just a young scientist who finds Thor's hammer, and thus is given the ability to summon him at will when he speaks Odin's name. It's an interesting movie, and it basically has a plot about David moving on with his life and changing his identity and running into this guy who can activate Thor's power. And they must work together to stop these thieves who are trying to steal this device that has gamma capabilities that Bruce wants to use to cure himself. It's an okay entry into the franchise, but it does leave a lot to be desired in terms of action. If you're a fan of the 70s TV show, you'll probably like this movie, and if you're not, you probably won't. I rather do enjoy it, but it did leave a little bit to be desired, but it is fun to see Hulk and Thor team up for the first time a whole 29 years before Thor Ragnarok. Up next is The Death of the Incredible Hulk. Released in 1990, and the last time we would see Bill Bixby play the character, it shows David Banner once again trying to find a cure. When he gets a job at this lab, he pretends to be someone who's kind of slow and gets a job as a janitor, but in reality he of course is a genius and sneaks in after hours to use their facilities to try to find a cure for his ailment known as the Hulk. Along the way, he runs into an old scientist friend, and they work together to try to cure him. Unfortunately, some terrorists end up kidnapping the scientist, and Bruce ends up falling in love with one of the terrorists who is basically reformed and wants out of that life. She more or less has been forced into it from a young age, and she wants to do good, and she ends up helping Banner along the way to try to rescue the scientist. The film does have a lot of drama. There's not as much Hulk action in this one, which is why I couldn't put it any higher. But it does have some nice moments. I do actually buy the romance between Jasmine and David. Bill Bixby is actually my favorite of the live-action Banners, and it's such a shame that he died at such a young age. He was only in his 50s when he passed away, but he was great at the part, and this is his final role, and he does a good job in his final role. Lou Ferrigno's in great shape as the Hulk, as always, and this is an improvement over the first Hulk film. Up next, we have The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. Despite being called Trial of the Incredible Hulk, this film only has one trial, and it's basically a dream sequence, so the title doesn't really fit. It shows Hulk once again on the move when he witnesses these thugs harassing this woman, and he intervenes and becomes the Hulk and defeats the thugs. Unfortunately, the thugs actually work for Wilson Fisk. That's right, the Kingpin, played by John Rhys-Davies of Raiders of the Lost Ark fame. David ends up arrested and blamed for it, and he gets a lawyer who is none other than Matt Murdock. That's right, this is the first live-action appearance of Daredevil. While Thor did leave something to be desired in Return of the Incredible Hulk, Daredevil is absolutely great in this movie. The look is simple and not really expensive, but looks very awesome. He basically has this all-black suit and this ninja-style look with these cool boots, and has the Billy Club that we all know and love. On top of that, it's great to see him and Hulk team up towards the end and rescue this woman who's been kidnapped. This one's a lot more simple than the other two, but I really do think this one has the best action of the three, and it's really cool to see Daredevil and the Hulk in the same movie. These TV movies aren't super exciting when it comes to action, and I don't think many younger viewers will get much out of them, but if you grew up with the Incredible Hulk TV show, like I did, even though it was reruns, I'm not that old, you'll definitely get a kick out of these movies, and this is the best of the three. Bill Bixby also directed this one, and he actually does a really good job of directing. He also directed the final one as well. But this one is a step up over The Death of the Incredible Hulk, and it has good direction, good acting, and a good story. Rex Smith actually plays Daredevil in the movie, and he does a damn good job. He's not as good as Charlie Cox in the new TV show, but he is better than Ben Affleck in the Daredevil movie. If you're a fan of the TV show or just a fan of Daredevil, I very much recommend this one. It's entertaining and the best of the Hulk TV movies. Up next, we have Thor Ragnarok. Now, this is not strictly a Hulk movie, but Hulk is featured very heavily here. And this movie is basically a watered-down version of Planet Hulk. The movie shows Thor landing on this planet, and there's a gladiatorial arena. And in the gladiatorial arena, there's a champion. Who is it? His old buddy, the Hulk. Bruce has crash landed here a year ago, and he's been wrecking everyone's shit in the gladiatorial arena of this planet. It's up to him and Thor to team up and stop Ragnarok and try to save Asgard. This is a fun MCU movie and probably one of the best Thor films. Hulk is really great in this one. Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth once again, is probably at his best as the character here. It's definitely goofy and over the top. Jeff Goldblum plays a magnificent villain. And if you like a fun, wacky MCU film with some great action and awesome Hulk action at that, you're going to love this movie. Not strictly a Hulk film, but he's featured so heavily here that I had to put it on this list. Coming in at number 2 would have to be 2003's Ang Lee directed Hulk. What happens when you let an artsy director make a superhero film? A lot of people don't like this one, but I actually really do. There could have been more Hulk action, I do admit. But I love the look and feel of this movie. You never see a superhero movie like this today, at least not in the MCU. They play it so safe, and some of the movies are so samey in the genre, but this one is so unique and so strange. I love the comic book transitions in the movie. I think Hulk looks great for the most part. I will admit that the CGI is a bit dodgy. Sometimes Hulk looks magnificent. Other times he looks rushed and kind of like a muscular Shrek. I think for the most part, though, he does look good, especially for a 22-year-old film. Even though some of the effects can be dodgy, overall I think most of them still do impress. There's a cool cameo by Lou Ferrigno as a security guard in the movie, as well as Stan Lee. This one is just an interesting story about Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk, finding out his father was responsible for his mutation, and having to run from the military who's after him every step of the way. It's a solid entry and basically a big budget version of the story. Although it's not quite as good as my number 1 spot, I still really do love this film, even though it is a bit strange. But number 1 would have to be 2008's The Incredible Hulk. This one stars Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. This film shows Bruce on the run from the government after having turned to the Hulk and accidentally destroying much property and accidentally killing some people. And it's a film about him trying to find a cure while also reuniting with the love of his life, Betty, and along the way having to fight Pomsky, this military man who's obsessed with trying to stop him, who's also being led by the ruthless General Ross. The story culminates in him having a giant battle with the Abomination in New York City, and all-out Hulk action ensues. As far as pure action goes, this is the absolute best of the franchise. A lot of people don't like this movie and think it's like one of the worst MCU films, at least out of the early ones, but I highly disagree. This is one of my favorite MCU movies. I just love the action and the intensity of this movie. The fight at the end with the Abomination is still just so badass. It's funny that we never got a sequel to this movie. Only in more recent years with Captain America Brave New World did they even touch on plot points from this movie. But it's still a great film, and hopefully one day we can get another proper Hulk movie that's in the veins of this one. Well, that's my list. I really do love the Hulk as a character, and I wish he would get more movies, but Universal's very stingy with making solo Hulk films. But regardless, if they ever do make another one, I'd be happy to see it, and hopefully it's as good as some of the better ones on this list. I think all these movies are pretty entertaining, and whether it's the live-action Lou Ferrigno version or the MCU version, I do like every version of the Hulk, and I definitely recommend all these movies. There's also some games that feature the Hulk as well, and if you haven't played it, the one that's the best is probably Ultimate Destruction. I thank you all for watching. Be sure to tell me your list down below, or just tell me your favorite Hulk film, and peace out.